right, today we're going to talk about respiration. This happens in the mitochondria, and we're looking at how the body breaks down food to get energy. And then we're going to see how it coordinates with photosynthesis as well. So it converts the energy from glucose to ATP, which is adenosine triphosphate ATP. And this occurs in the mitochondria and the cytoplasm. All right, so here is the mitochondria. It usually looks like a little ketchup. Hot dog is usually the representation. This is what it looks like. You can see all the little folds. All of those folds help increase the ability to make more ATP and do more cellular respiration. So there's two different types of respiration. We have anaerobic. That prefix AN says it requires no oxygen. AN means without, and with the AN not present, aerobic requires oxygen. So when you're doing an aerobic workout, that means that you're breathing in a lot of oxygen, breathing out a lot of carbon dioxide. And for anaerobic, that's more of a fermentation. That's when you would get like a muscle cramp, which we'll talk about that here in a second. In anaerobic respiration, we have alcoholic fermentation and lactic acid fermentation. If you look, both of these involve only 2 ATP, or 2 energies, right? And they make either the alcohol. This is also used for to make vinegar, to make rubbing alcohol, all of those things. This ethanol is produced, carbon dioxide is released. Lactic acid, same concept. The lactic acid is produced and 2 energy is made, and both are made from glucose, from a sugar. So for alcoholic fermentation, this is when we go through and we ferment anything. So fermenting, if you've ever had kombucha, that's the same concept. So you're actually making something from a sugar. Alcohol or vinegar is released from that. And then CO2 is produced. Then we have lactic acid fermentation. This is when you get an awful muscle cramp. It is that buildup of lactic acid. That's why you rub out a muscle so that it does not hurt anymore. It's you're distributing that lactic acid built up in the muscle. Aerobic respiration is using oxygen. So we'll see oxygen actually in the formula itself. This has 6 CO2 and it makes 36 ATP. So we say that aerobic respiration is more efficient than anaerobic respiration because it makes more ATP. All right, you need to know these formulas by heart as well. All right, the process of cellular respiration, we have the 2 different types of fermentation down here, and then aerobic respiration makes 34 more ATP, 36 total. Then we're going to go into from cellular respiration to photosynthesis, and you notice that we have to have both in order. They're a big cycle, and we have to have them in order to live. All right, there's a video for you to watch on this. I will post this PowerPoint online as well. Here, looking at this leaf structure, where is the chloroplast? And you notice where the chloroplasts are because it is the green area at the top of the leaf so that it can capture that sunlight. Photosynthesis occurs in the chloroplast, which we've already talked about this year. And you can look at the thylakoid membranes. They're like little pancakes. And the stroma is what everything floats in that chloroplast. And the whole point in this thing is to capture that sun energy to convert it to sugar. Chlorophyll is the green pigment that captures sunlight for plants. And it reflects green light, which is why they are green and absorb other wavelengths. So green light is actually reflected and everything else is absorbed. So white light is the ideal thing for photosynthesis. Other pigments can cause leaves to be yellow and red, and we're seeing that right now in the fall. So these things are called autotrophs, meaning they automatically make their food. Autotrophs automatically make their food. Those are any plant, anything that's green. We have 2 things called chemosynthesis and photosynthesis. Chemo is chemical, and photo is actually taking sunlight. Photo means sunlight. Photosynthesis, going through that process, is to take the sun and water and carbon dioxide to produce energy. So we're looking at the reactants, which are on the left, and then the products, which are on the right. So it takes CO2 and H2O and sun to produce glucose, sugar, and oxygen. Exactly why is photosynthesis so important? It allows energy in the sunlight to be available to living things. So sunlight is pretty important. All right, light energy is converted into chemical energy, which is the glucose. It is a chemical. And then oxygen is known as a byproduct, meaning it's a little extra. It's like the nice little side, like a side of bread when you go to the store, or go to a restaurant. When you get something a little extra that you didn't pay for, that's oxygen. It's the byproduct. It's a little product that's extra. All right, here is the overview of the process. So we're looking at CO2 actually entering through the stomata, which is like the mouth or the opening of the leaf. And water enters through the root hairs and is carried through the xylem. Xylem is for water and phloem is for food. So we're going to actually watch a little video on that too. I'll post that on Google Classroom. Sunlight is absorbed by the chlorophyll, and then O2 produce exits through that stomata, remember, like the mouth, and then sugars are produced and they go through the phloem, which goes to the roots, usually is like storage. So if you think of like potatoes, phloem is for food, and food is the sugar, and sugar is a carb, and carbs are storage in plants. Going back to that first week. Here's the Calvin cycle and dark cycle. Make sure that you watch this video when I post the PowerPoint itself. And then Calvin cycle is a series of reactions that uses carbon dioxide to make water, or to make sugar. This process is known as the dark cycle or dark reaction because it can happen when light isn't present. So go through and watch that video. I'm not going to do that on here because it takes forever to upload if I take that long to make the video. All right, what happens to the sugars made? The glucose produced by photosynthesis may be transported and changed into starch, like I said, storage, like potatoes, carrots, root vegetables. They can also be used to make cellulose, which makes that cell wall. And also energy for cellular processes, other processes that happen within the cell itself. Here's another video when it comes to limiting factors. Think of limiting factors as something that would stunt a plant to grow. So all of the things that make a plant grow are known as limiting factors because if we take them away, the plant doesn't grow to its full potential. Watch the video. All right, we have another one. This is the experiment that is most commonly seen. It will go through and it will show you where the oxygen goes and how we can measure it. And if we take something away like sunlight, how it will change the amount of oxygen produced. All right, have a great day.